So this is going to be a rant for the ages. I think it's 13.0 now or something. But somebody sent me, and why people do this, I don't know. Well, I think it's to get me going, of course. But they sent me this video of a skill being performed at an NHL camp, and I posted that on Instagram. I'm just curious. So, there's I don't even know how to start this without losing you guys. But anyway, so what I did for years is I've done a lot of research, and so started a timing company because I didn't believe what everybody was saying about important speed is to offensive performance. So I built the very first twin beam timing systems in 1993. Got a company to make them. We went on ice. We tested them. We measured offensive performance speed, in turning and striding and pivoting and all sorts of other things. The skating skills. There's 21 skating skills we tested. And we went around the world. So we were in Switzerland. We've tested Japanese teams, Korean teams. We were in Switzerland. We did an incredible amount of work. Even worked with the Canadian national team. And then in 2005, Mike Valley and I founded Next Testing, which was to build the same thing but at more advanced level version of on-ice performance profiling, and we also did the off-ice profiling. We did the NHL Combine in 2008, worked with Central Scouting, and we're doing work with the Anaheim Ducks and that sort of thing, and some other pro teams. And so what it was all about was that what was relative testing? Like, what was the skating test? It's called binary testing. Now, there's a lot of skating tests that are done, but unfortunately what it doesn't isolate the exact skating component. Now, what does that have to do anything with all I'm going to get going on? So what I did after all the research, I did work with the BCHL, and then I did their top performers and analyzed the data and found out that really the most important skating skills are really the agility, transitional skills like stopping, starting, turning, and that sort of stuff, and as opposed to overall speed. And when I looked at the offensive production of the players that had the most speed relative to gameplay and ice time, the players that had the most speed, that performed, high in offensive production and not high offensive production, the variance in speed was negligible. I think it was only 1% difference in performance speed. And so now we go on. So then years later, now I formed my company in 2008, and I've been doing research ever since on the NHL and skills in the NHL. I do over 200 data points. I track everything: types of passes, skating, skills used in skating to score goals, the skills that the playmakers use. It's very extensive. It takes 15 minutes a goal at this stage to do all the research, and then of course you do a number of goals that are scored in the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I just finished, and then I'm looking at all the top goal scorers in the NHL. It's pretty extensive work. But more importantly, what I did is I work on a daily basis. I work with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds and all the way up and down. And this goes up and down. This has been going on for years. And what I've had a chance to watch is kids I started training at 5 and 6. They kind of get to 12 where their mechanics are getting good, things are happening, and then they leave. But what they don't understand really, and this is what cracks me up, is a thing called the form-function matrix. Now, form begets function. So when you're in the martial arts, what you start to understand is that you have a form, and the form has to be performed properly. And so when you get your white belt, you understand that there's striking and there's blocking and there's kicking. So the kicking has a name, strike has a name, the block has a name, your stance has a name, everything has a name. And so there's no confusion. You are doing your cat stance incorrectly. And here's why, and your block has to be here. It has to be the height of your shoulder has to be, this has to be outside, this has to be a gap. Everything's the same. Your wrist has to snap at the right time, all this stuff. So, and if you don't, you fail. So you gotta, you do your what's called a cutter. So you learn your punching, blocking, kicking, and then you put into what's called a cutter, which is it's a sequence of movements that really put you through your white belt level. Basics. So just basic punch, basic block, high block, low block, front kick, side kick. That's it, kind of simple thing. And the footwork that goes with it, and your feet have to move, all that stuff. And you have these very serious looking judges at the table. There's 6 guys, black belts, second degree, third degree black belts, your sensei, going, you failed because your technique was off just a little bit. You got to be better. Okay, then you go practice. You don't just get given the white belt. You have to practice it. So in hockey, we have these stupid terms like, we're going to do a tight turn today. I go, okay, what's that? You can do a tight turn with a mohawk. You can do a stop turn. You can do a inside edge pivot turn. You can do heel break turn. You can do all these other, because they have names. And when you have names, you can't be confused. Okay, son, your heel break turn, which you come in, you bring your toe up. Usually it's done on a forehand to backhand, and you pull in with your heel and you bring your skate around, and that allows you to change direction more efficiently to your backhand on a deke, let's say. And it's a common move that elite players use. And then we have what's called a slide skid, which is you come in at full speed, you do a parallel stop kind of thing, and then you glide and skid out of it. And this is what it does. It allows your outside foot to be in a more superior position on your exit than it does just open up, which is here, and then you go all that other grabs. Anyway, we have a name. There's a name for it. Okay, so I know that when I do something that I'm doing it right because the name is specific to this. And so here's what actually happens. This is a cap. It's not a toque. This is a t-shirt. Okay. You can call this whatever you want. But anyway, it's just because if I shave, we know what shaving is, and then I tend to bleed. We know what bleeding is. I get these little nicks in here because I know I got baby skin here, but this here, it doesn't matter. I can use a scythe and cut here. But we have names for shit. It just drives me nuts. And so we go on the ice. I get this all the time. So, son, you're a horrible skater. Or I get this. Hey, Ron, my son's a great skater. I go, really? Great at what? They go, pardon me? I go, well, he was told he was a good skater. Well, okay, so good at what though? Is he agile? Is he explosive? Is he quick? Does he have a nice stride? Does he look good? Like, what is it? Like, what? Tell me. And they go, I was just told he's a good skater. So I get this all the time too. You got to go home, son, and work on your shot. What do you mean by that? Does that mean quicker release, more accurate, more velocity? You got to get stronger. You got to work and get rid of it in tighter spaces. You got to work on your short range shot, medium range shot, long range shot, forehand shot, backhand shot. And if it's a backhand, is it backhand wrist, backhand snap, backhand slap, backhand one timer, backhand chip? Is it forehand? My God, man! And so kids, what they do instinctively, or all of us, you're not a good person. They go, what does that mean? So we kind of go in our little head and we go, let me see. Has there been any other time someone called us out? And then we try to think of a situation to go, maybe I forgot to open the door for something. Yeah, you're right, I'm a bad person. But that's not what they're talking about. Like, it's all this goofy stuff that hockey allows these coaches to get away with, and it frustrates the hell out of me. And so the nomenclature, because everybody has these secret little names for things, and the secret little names aren't based on logic. Like when I tell kids, you know why slap shot's called a slap shot? Because you slap? Yeah. But you slap. Like you slap. Your arm straight, you slap kind of thing. And so why is it called a snapshot? Well, I don't know. Well, snapshot just means to pull. That's all it means, just to pull. It just means to pull. And so a lot of kids think, no, if you make noise, that's a snapshot. No, it's not a snapshot. That you can make a snapshot, but we call it a sweep snapshot or a sweep pull shot because we give it a name, and then we know that we're not separating the puck. So if we want to separate the blade from the puck, which has a benefit because it's kind of like a small space from the puck, means you get a little bit more velocity because the puck is on your blade, and as you get further and further back, like a slap shot, you get more velocity, and there's a reason why we do it, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so this is the problem. So the other thing I see is, so I get sent these goofy things, like why is this guy going down the ice and doing this? And so when I talk about skating, for example, so I'm on the ice with a Western Hockey League client the other day, and at the other end there's a young guy, and he's enthusiastically teaching this young kid who's about 8 years old. And at the end, the session's over. And I said, mind if I just ask you something? Are you teaching him to skate or teaching him to push? And again, two terms, completely different. And then he goes, well, aren't they the same thing? I said, well, they're not actually. So I said, well, think of walking. So if you push, what you do, you sit, you bring your foot frontwards, and then you push your back leg forward. And then now you're in a new position. Then you take the other foot, and you put it forward, and you push. Or do you just kind of stand there, transfer your weight, and then fall? And that's falling. So that's actually falling. So when you fall, you learn how to fall by opening your hips in different directions. So skating is really falling and catching. Locomotion is falling and catching. But we have a concept of what that fall means. So if I'm teaching a kid, lift your leg, you fall. You do this, you fall. You fall over your outside edge. And they go, oh, I see. So if I do this, I fall. But yes. Okay. And then the greater angle of the fall, the greater angle of lean, the more centrifugal force, the more greater load in the leg, the faster you're skating, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this rant is when you understand that hockey really is, if we reverse engineer it. So when I ask people, what's the most important skill in hockey? And they go, well, skating, of course. Well, wouldn't they have a bigger rink? And why do they have a score clock? So if you have a score clock, they keep 2 points for a win, 1 for a tie. They have a shootout because you got to win. And they have a goaltender. They have a net that's a certain size. They have a rink. They have a goal judge sometimes. They have a score clock. And they have this instant replay where if you don't get the puck across a certain line, it's not a goal. So I think scoring is probably the most important thing. And so if both goaltenders play equally well and nobody scores, then it's a tie and nobody wins. So I think someone has to score. Okay? So when you think of goal scoring, it's goal scoring diversity. So again, coming back to this. So how do we score? Well, what we do is there's a lot of players, and I get this thing, Okay, we talk about Bedard. Bedard, they say, has got a great shot because he puts the puck in the net. But what happens if mechanically it wasn't a good shot? What happens if he was just a very accurate shooter? So it's kind of like natural golf. I don't have to be mechanically great golfer, which is going to help me, but as long as I get the ball down the fairway into the hole in the least amount of strokes and allows me to beat somebody, who cares? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But people go, no, you have to do mechanically right. Well, okay, but if you have bad mechanics but good accuracy, it doesn't matter. If you have great mechanics, chances are your accuracy, the understanding of accuracy, is going to be better and you're going to be more consistently accurate. That's all. But you can still be accurate and be crappy. So there an NHL player, and I won't say it was, oh my God, I can't help you because your mechanics are so bad. Here's what we'll do: just shoot to these areas, you're going to have a higher percentage chances of scoring. And he went on, and he's still having a great, he's still scoring in the NHL right now. But so when we understand these things, we understand that you have to see a pattern. So your skill preference, what happens when you have a preference, you tend to come down the ice and go, I like to toe it in. I don't know if I can do it there, instead of going across and over and shooting. Or maybe I have to do a different technique. I have to pull it back this way and shoot, or I have to do something else, or I have to quickly get around something and pull it. So a draw shot, it's a different shot. There's different things we do. Maybe I have to take a backhand. Maybe I have to go across to go backhand. Maybe I have to come in and go this way, fake. All these different variations are a pattern. So what you do is you read the time and space, and then we judge it. It's the same as skating. So imagine a conveyor belt coming at you. So just first make it simple. There's a big conveyor belt that fits on your screen, and what you see is these shapes coming at you like this, okay? They're coming at you, and you see them behind each other. And now you're skating at it, and you go, I got to get this way, I got to go quickly over that way, I got to stop, and then step ahead and come back and come over and back. That's pattern recognition. And what you do is you see the pattern and the depth. It's like merging in a car, merging into traffic and a freeway, or, okay, here's the time, here's the space, people coming, got to go. And then that's hockey. So what happens is you got to think, like McKinnon will look and he goes, okay, I got to go quickly that way, and then I stop here and do a quick turn, stop, come back across this way, because their pattern recognition going north and east-west are very good. Okay, a defenseman goes, boy, that guy's got a lot of speed. I got to be here. So it's pattern recognition. So we think of goal scoring per se. So when I was taught, what we did is we would do a tactic first, and then go, oh boy, we suck at that skill. Then we reverse engineered it, and then the skill came back in the tactic because I knew where it fit. Okay, so in martial arts, when you throw a punch, you have to make sure, okay, if the punch is in the middle of my body, say right there, there's more chance of injury. If I can even deflect it just a little bit, then it glances off. So we call it a glancing blow. It's more important to have a glancing blow than a direct strike, because the resistance is my body, and there's all sorts of physics reasons why we do this. With, you can put a paper on something and do something, and then because a paper has a greater anyway, it's physics. Okay, so if you shoot I remember an experiment. I took a BB gun and I shot it out of an old beer bottle, and I hit dead center. And I went, oh my God, it went right through the bottle. I made a perfect hole and dropped it inside. And if I was off just a little bit, it deflected. That was my first lesson in protect your center. So you either move, you deflect. That's kind of a martial arts defensive mechanism. Okay, so now we think of hockey. Okay, so we're attacking. So when we have all these general terms and we don't understand the relationship between pattern recognition, what pattern am I seeing? Some guys will go, oh, I'm just going to drive to the net because that suits my skill. I can see the guys a little off. I'm going to come wide, cut across them. Or some guys go, no, I'm just going to hold up and hit the brakes and use them as a screen. And some guys will go, I don't trust that. I'm going to just turn back and give the puck to somebody else. So why don't we just jump really into an abstract? So let's just look at the Stanley Cup playoffs. And let's just assume that there's a strategy. All the guys on the power play, they're playing against Florida. And there's 5 guys against 4. And there's actually 5 on 5. So who should the goalie face, really? If someone was to shoot, who should it be? It should probably be the worst shooter. So if everybody eliminated all the top guys and all that was left was a goalie against best shooter, that's your best chance. But you don't want your goalie facing the best shooter. You want to play the percentages. Well, how about this one? So let's say McDavid is a pass-first kind of guy. And what we're going to do is we know that's what he's going to do. So we're going to make sure that, he can't shoot. Then all of a sudden we know where the pass is going. So if he doesn't often shoot, then his pattern recognition is I got to make a play, got to make a play, got to make a play. And under critical circumstances, because he wants to score, maybe he doesn't shoot the puck. Maybe because he can't shoot from distance, he just doesn't feel comfortable, blah, blah. You get it. Anyway, so all these things become our limiting factors in our development. And when you have coaches making us do silly things that have no relationship or minimal relationship to the game, they screw our career. So when we talk about martial arts, it's called the form function matrix. The form begets the function. So in other words, martial meaning war, meaning my form better be pretty good, because there's no second. You don't chop off the arm, chop off the head, you're done. So over years, the guy goes, there's a guy who did a battle. He goes, I think my technique's kind of the best out here. I think I've killed like 50 people, and then the leader of the gang goes, hey, we can't afford to be training all these troops. So would you, in your expertise of this amazing sword, like a guy like Miyamoto Musashi, look him up. He's an amazing guy. But, it's just like, hey, maybe there's a strategy to it. That's Sun Tzu, the art of war. There's a strategy, and then there's a technique, okay? So when you understand the technique, you go, I better be the best at this technique. So the guy that survives the most battle, he develops his theories and stuff, and he goes on, and away we go. And now he's the guy that trains as always the meanest badass with the sword or the spear or the arrow. And he's the guy that's telling everybody what to do. Everybody's going, oh my God, you've killed 50 guys? You've done this? And yeah, okay, I'm going to listen to this guy. Then you have some guy that's picking his teeth with his sword, or he's doing something goofy, and he goes on the field, goes, whoosh, gets his head chopped off. The guy next to him goes, whoa, just a minute. I think Billy, I saw him practice the other day. He was goofing around with his sword. I don't know, he's swatting apples or something, I don't know. And then I better get this sorted out. This is the crap that happens in the martial arts for over thousands of years. They figured stuff out. They went, do this, you die. You do this, you don't die. Perfect more of this, you don't die. You do abstract stuff, you die. So the single most important thing in them is they're understanding the outcome. Reverse engineering it back is you got to be a bad go kind of chop people up or kill people, and therefore you have to be really good at it. So therefore we don't want to. Maybe you might have to hold a bow for a year just to make sure that you're strong enough that you don't even worry about the bow anymore. You're going, holy crap, my arm's tired. Or that sword's too heavy. I can't wheel it. Or my stick. My God, I'm going to skate without a stick. But hold on a minute. My stick is like a cheetah's tail. It turns. If I turn my wrist, something else happens. If I move my stick, my whole body works. What are people doing? So my rant is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you do the research, you can't undo it. You are what you become. You are what you repeat. So whatever you do, good or bad, is who you are, because practice makes permanent. So therefore, if I don't have somebody looking at my long-term objectives, perhaps maybe I'm 6'3", and maybe I'm 5'8". So do you think that Caulfield is going to skate differently than Barkov? But as long as they're agile and they're saying, well, maybe there should be something there. But Caulfield is a small guy surviving, or Stan Coleman. You got to survive in a big man's world. So how agile can you be? So here's what we do: we take a 5'8" guy. I look at his parents. Go, I think you're going to be 5'9", maybe 5'7", 5'8". Want to play in the NHL, son? Absolutely. I'm going to teach you power skating, because you know what? That's really important, because your parents know what that words mean, and I'm going to charge you for it. But don't you think that guy should be super agile and deceptive and quick and turn and spin and get going, because the big guy's coming to get you? And if you think your little 5'8" power is going to be the 6'4" power guy, is not happening. A locomotive is always going to pull a VW, but you think a VW buck is going to pull a train? It might have power. There's something wrong. Anyway, so what I'm ranting about is because I'm sick of it. I've done all this research and I can't unsee it. So I look at an 8-year-old now, I go by a rink and I go, what are they doing? By the time I have kids that can't even hold on to their stick properly. They've been playing since they're 4, and now they're 9. Their hands are so bad, they're so familiar with holding on to a stick, they can't not hold on to it that way. No matter what I do to change it, they're already done. And it takes an incredible amount of learning, incredible amount of mental awareness to be able to fix a habit. So why not build a good habit? Because if it's that hard to fix an old habit, it must be that hard to fix a good habit or mess it up. So the earlier that we start to build great habits, but then again, we have to look ahead and see what we want these kids to be, and then we have to plan it based on potential size, potential weight, potential ethnic background. Maybe there's different issues there with their size and their speed and their fast twitch and slow twitch and how they work, all these sort of things. And it just frustrates the heck out of me. So there's going to be more on it, I promise. I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty. So thanks for watching at this stage if I haven't put you to sleep already.